in the region. So I'll name some, like significant gaps in land that also hinders the informed data decision making, and also this widen the development gaps. So particularly for this reason, we are holding this. So have proved some best practices in other regions and maybe bring them abroad on board. Just click on the as an initiative is and in the regard of democratization of the information ecosystem, we are committed to strengthening the flow of information ecosystem. We are committed to strengthening the flow of land governance. We think that we are a pioneering hub that's linked to open data on land enabling to publish the structured data in machine readable, which we will come to that maybe during the session, and the standardized formats under open data license to be used by anyone, of course, because it's open. And lastly, we promote and inform and enrich the global debate on land issues. So the State of Land Information Index, which is also an index, so it measures both the completeness and the openness of the data. So we catalyze on an open and democratic information system, and the open data principles are from the ground up. We work to spread the responsible publications and the use of the open data by carrying some country level state of land information assessments, and we'll show you some of what we have done on global level and also in the region. Also, we developed the SOLI index tool, which is a global index to assess the state of land info at the country level. And it's considered an indicator to democratize land, which makes land data findings more actionable. So in the case of the land governance monitoring systems. These open standards, we have done more than one webinar, and also you can find some information on the portal, and with this session you can find more information about that. Also, to improve the decision-making and transparency through the developing of the global database, and also the donor funds for land-related projects. So we also have to mention that we work with the Global Data Barometer and the Open Data Charter to insert land issues in open data discussion. So we work with partners. So collaboration is about partnership. So with Landex, we work on, Landex is a database of ILC, and we will come to that with Shah's presentation from the ILC. And it aims to put people in the center of the land. Also, we work with Global Land Observatory from the FAO, and it seeks to make data evidence and analysis available. Also, it's a reference point for policymakers and all the stakeholders related to land, working to land and linking it to the global community and commitments like the frameworks of the SDGs, is a multi-dimensional and multi-layering that assess the state of data for public good. So we have to be focused on the Arab region in this session. So there are some case studies from the Arab region, and we have identified the methodology of work in order to get some visibility on this openness and completeness of data. So the first step, we identify the country experts that can review the information done by the land portal consultants, which is in this case, it's me. And the researchers collect and structure the information according to the predefined categories and questions in an online collection tool. We developed a tool called the Survey Solution Tool, which can score and calculate the scoring for the openness and completeness of data on all data-related land themes. And also, we answer this question and assess them and score them, the main categories, for the openness and completeness. And finally, the result is displayed on a dashboard that can can be accessible for you in the portal. So you can access the portal, see the country that you want to visualize, and then press on it, and it opens a further information for this dashboard. So this is my first example. We have worked on 3 countries from the Arab region. I'll start to be presenting about Morocco now. So in the dashboard, in the previous slide, you saw like it's a portal with the interface of a lot of figures of this dashboard, each for one country. But in the case of you can click on the special country you are looking for, you can find, for example, Morocco, you can find the legal and policy, land tenure, land use, land development, and land value. The same categories, but one for the openness and one for the completeness of data. When you click on the top of the portal, land use, you will find specifically for land use more information, more scoring about each category. And also you can find information about, it's in text, you can find information about some details about the land use there. And this is related also, you can relate that with some organizations working from the country on the scope. So for example, from Morocco, I clicked on this link, which is a hyperlink, to open the portal. So what we do exactly, we assess the performance of the governments and the portals of the government. We assess the completeness of the data on the portal. We assess the openness of the data on the portal. So how do we do that? So we freeze working related to data. We map all the information related to data online on the government portals. So we, in this case, in the SOLI index, we don't assess the completeness of the data outside the government. So we seek an open approach of data in the case of the portals. For the sake of the openness, we seek we have some criteria across these criteria, and one of them that is machine readable. Like you can find the information, but not only in PDF. You can find it in Excel sheets, in spatial data, in vector. So you have multiple types of data that can be used further by different stakeholders. And of course, in the region, we have some challenges in that. So there are some of this policy of open data online for the stakeholders and the users. So one of these countries is Morocco, and I'll come also to Tunisia in that. So there is always controlling that or maybe guiding that, which is low to information for the access to knowledge and information. And in this scope, they provide open data portals from the government. So we just do this assessment as a first assessment, and related to the land, of course, and on different land categories like land use.
What we use or what we produce, and up till this moment there was no interactive map that showed
land development. And
here we're not seeing the next. Okay. That have a mission to community land rights globally. The landmark was established in 2014, a platform that is showcasing enhanced version of Landmark 2024 with 2024, greater data coverage and improved access. That also covers or give the opportunity to have some data layers added to the map. So it has community level maps produced by the indigenous people and local communities covering natural resources rights. We also cover the national level maps, which is the percentage of land documented at a governmental level or mapped by the government and marked. Landmark can also cover the biodiversity and climate. So where we have tree loss or carbon density, these are the things that you can see on the map if there is data available, therefore. Also, the land use, and this is very important in the current situation where just transition is a big debate, and it helps us show where are mining concessions that might violate the effects of the. Just an overall overview of the percentage of land in this world covered by indigenous people and local communities. And as you can see, significant portion of the land that it's characterized as as natural or semi-natural. This is another overview. I'm not sure if this is working. Ah, yes. This working? Ah, yes. Another overview of the platform in itself. I don't have a pointer, but if we look at the left side, you can see that there is. But if we look at the left side, you can see that there is maps, biodiversity, and climate change. So you have so many options in an interactive way that allows you to overlap several layers. An interactive way that allows you to overlap several layers to see
land governance more people-centered. We work also on Objective 3 at the region-specific thematic, or who have containers containing a number of variables, but to 100. And this was many years ago, before my time at ILC, 6 or 7 years ago. We started by sending out a survey to the entire membership to understand what indicators are you using in your work that you're collecting data against, not wanting in any way to invent new indicators, but to understand what were the indicators that were being used. And we got back more than 300 indicators that were in use in our network alone. Of course, we could not apply an indicator from the Arab region to the Latin American region. So in fast forward a number of years, what we did was try to identify 33 common indicators that you see here that were relevant across the regions and defined for our membership good land governance that was people-centered. We've organized them here. You can see in the different colors, this represents the kinds of methodologies that we use, which also reflects the kind of data that we use in decision-making, to women's land rights, also to the protection of land and environmental defenders. Organize the indicators levels as prescribed in the Rio Convention, so the CBD framework, the UNCCD, and as well as UNFCCC. Where is land being accounted for? And another very important aspect for our membership are these inclusive processes by which they're built? Are women communities at the table when these national action plans and targets are being developed? So this is these are the questions that our members are uniquely positioned to monitor and to take the data in advocacy processes with their governments. So here's a data set from Jordan. This is an example, there are many, of how this data is used. So each country will have its own country page, and then we have findings for each indicator and a bit of description telling us what that score means or what we're measuring. Of course, indexes are of use in terms of making data digestible and accessible and setting them on a common scale. They're not of enough use if we don't tell stories about what that data means, right? If we're not talking about how we contextualize it. So from the Landex website, members, others, practitioners can download the data according to their areas of interest, and then we can analyze this data, right? So this was from the 4 years of land People's Data on Land report from 2023. And here we were able to give a regional snapshot, albeit with three countries alone, of how countries were performing on land governance according to different thematics. You can see it will be probably small, but commitment 4 to women's land rights, equality and access to land, is something that was rather low in all of the countries in the region, while commitment 3, which looks at diverse tenure rights, so community and customarily managed land, this also was quite low, as was the commitment 2 scores, which is support to family farmers in the region. This is from a very high level, but these are the data sets then that we can enter into with more detail and unpack. So, of course, the ultimate goal is that this data is packaged into messaging and used as evidence for our members who are entering advocacy spaces, decision-making spaces. So here's an example of different reports, campaigns that we've done with the data, telling stories and giving our members voices in the processes that are most relevant for them. So this, and now I will close, but the panel is very much looking at what we can do with data in partnership with one another. And I think that this is a crucial question. In Landex, it's inherent. We've built Landex in a way that we've forced ourselves, for very clear reasons, to look at all of these data sets together. That looking at one data set in isolation does not give us a full picture of land governance, being as complex and nuanced as it is. So we see a lot of opportunity to put our data sets together, but also to increasingly collaborate directly with governments, with custodians, with other actors that are working on data. ILC has been an active member in the collaborative on citizen data, and there we've identified governments that have also identified gaps in their data. So the SDGs are an easy framework to use as an example. Governments are very clear on which SDG data they have and they don't have, and a lot of the data they don't have, it's because this is difficult data for them to collect. Not the only reason why they don't have this data, but rural populations tend to be a difficult population to capture, even more so if it's rural women, community and communal tenure often is left out of data collection for its complexities. So governments also recognize that citizen data, complementary data, fills an important gap that they're also interested in filling. So this was an example from the National Human Rights Commission in Kenya, where we were able to submit a data set on attacks on land and environmental defenders. The National Human Rights Commission in Kenya took the data, they verified it internally, and they were able to use effectively citizen-generated data as part of their national data set, reflecting violence that they themselves were not able to capture as the state. So here you can also see in the infographic with the men and the women that we have a large number of people who are directly coming from land users organizations that are contributing, and this provides us with a unique opportunity to collect data with and on behalf of these communities that we're working with so closely. So now we look to 2005, and I'm closing, but we have formed a land data partnership with Land Matrix, together with Prindex and also Land Portal. This has been supported by the EC. And it's the EC recognizing that us as data partners should be speaking to each other and seeing what we can analyze and understand better when we pose those research questions to multiple data sets at a time. I'm giving the example which Shahad also used of the greenest country in the world. This was a knowledge product that was produced last year that used landmark data, land matrix data, and we see that by adding these data layers, we can understand how data not being open, boundaries of communities not being recognized or defined, together with indicators, we understand where interventions are needed and where the policy asks can be. I'll stop there, and thank you.
Thank you, Eva. You're bringing the global perspective and the idea of partnership that's already the goal of this session. So Now we'll move to Dr. Salwa from Tunisia. So we thought on bringing on board some of the cases of academia that work on land and the tools for data collection. And we will be presenting an example from Tunisia and then from Palestine.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Puisque vous...
Thank you, Mrs. Chair. Since I have only a few minutes, I will summarize and talk about the digital platform that is the result of work between the Ministry of Agriculture and researchers. We have many digital platforms like Roxati, Hawiyati, but the role of the researchers is essential from data collection to the mapping and finally to decision making. So the researcher as an academic is a stakeholder that is essential. He calls upon the researchers to develop strategies. I don't see my presentation. I would like to move to the platform directly. I would like to move to the platform directly. So this is a platform I developed lately in the framework of a research team that I lead with the Ministry of Agriculture in order to see the health of plants, the upgrade So this is a platform that was developed in the framework of research, and it is to see the different indexes of urbanization, of vegetation as well. So we had funds to finance this platform from the ministry, but it would be very difficult to update it on a regular basis. So we recruit students in either PhD students or master students to update these platforms, and that allows them to move forward in their scientific research, but this is to serve also the country, the administration, and help manage the natural resources. When I talk about the urban expansion taking over the agricultural land, and the second index is about vegetation to make sure that the plants are not sick. So this is a decision-making tool. This is open data. It is available for free. It uses techniques that are very advanced without having to buy high-resolution images that are extremely expensive and can represent pressure on the ministry. So through this short presentation, the role of academia is very important in land governance. So we should not separate the researchers, the academia, from the professional. So our government understands it very well, and currently things are not the way they used to be in the past, so they do rely on researchers, either PhD students or professors, to help develop strategies at the ministry level. So, in the past, when researchers were involved, it was only theory, but this is to serve decision making. So, at the level of Ministry of Higher Education, it is mandatory to have a socio-economical partner in order to validate your research. And this decision maker on the ministry will benefit from this database that is updated and have special maps that will help their decision making. So I have research with Prima that will start with 9 countries, and our partner, the socio-economical partner, is a major partner. So this shows the strong link that exists between the socio-economical field and the researchers when it comes to data sharing. And thank you for your attention.
Tool. Example for open data also, but in terms of students, researchers to work on. So we'll move to Thamin from Palestine to present the case also of academia.
Thank you so much. So we are in need for a warm-up session. Everyone is sleepy. So the story is as simple as is. It's number 5, please. I'm going to do it short. So all of us, we heard about research for development, yeah? Yeah, but my voice is stronger than the mic. Yeah, okay, for the translation? Okay. Yeah, so everyone, for sure, during the past 10 years has heard about research for development. And everyone was talking about we are in need to use the research for development. Now, our story is vice versa. Now, what I'd like to present is how to make use the results of the development in order to guide the research to advance the development. And through having one of the Dutch-funded projects in Palestine, which is Land at Scale project, and so this project is international project, and this project is implemented in 12 countries. The idea was to create, so this is not the slide, the slide, yeah, anyway, so I'm not in need for the slide. Anyway, so the idea was, so through the implementation of the project, we found out that we have lots of information. It's available within the Palestinian institutions, and they are not making use of it. So the idea was how to make use of this information to formulate a special academic program, and we decided in order to have it under the umbrella of a master program and to invite and to give scholarship for the civil servant whom they had the data and they are, I didn't want to say that they don't know how to make use of it, but the idea is having a data while we consider it like a gold within their hands, and they are in need for the tools and the assistance to help them how to interpret this information into the use of the development and facilitation the life of the people. So I'm going exactly directly to the example. So we design a master program for the civil servants whom they are working for in the BLA and LWSC, Land Water Settlement Commission, Ministry of Finance, whom have the information and the data from the Ottoman time, British Mandate time, from the Jordanian time, and how to make use of the data and how to do the right interpretation for the use of the beneficiaries of this data, for the beneficiary of the people, how to facilitate, how they could make use of this data in a way that facilitate the life of the end beneficiary. And we help them in in doing that through using different tools. Part of the tools that have been used, which is the knowledge management team within the framework of the project, where many Dutch institutions were involved. Wageningen universities were helping in teaching and doing that facilitation. Different kind of experts were used in helping those students. Now they are in a thesis level. Everyone took a topic that would facilitate his work, and he has a supervisor or external supervisor that helps him in order how to make use of the data between his hands in order to do forms, norms that could make or could ease the process that they are implementing. This is now at the level of their work. We do hope to design it to help also the policymakers to update the regulations. And because of this, we are working together with ILC, Shad. We do hope to have much more partners. We do hope to have a cross-border country program, to have it to design a specialized program to make use of the knowledge which comes and generated from and through the developmental projects for the help of the research and for the help of the civil servant and the people whom they are implementing delivering the service to the people. So this is the idea as simple as...
And on the students also and researchers for the platform and also for master students. So I'm opening the floor for more questions about that. And also reminding you that there's always a call for collaboration from your side. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been a very fruitful discussion. It's based on numbers and studies. It's very beneficial to use to actually. Let's say that we are talking about women's rights and women's business, that it's very relevant to all the fields. For example, the economic field, we see that 14 or 15% of people are women. I was a researcher in a PhD and master's degree, and it was about women farmers. And there is no database, especially in the rural areas in the Arab countries, and it's a problem. It's a problem. That is unfortunate that there has been studies outside, but they're not applicable to our societies and our challenges. So we always have this problem of lack of database. Thank you so much. And this is a very important topic, and we need it, and we need to implement it more and work on it more. Thank you. Thank you so much. We will take more questions and then we will answer at once.
The danger of having these global indices and just summarize it at the end of the day in the index in one figure, which is the score. I don't think this is realistic and reflects the specificities of the countries. Another index or the same indicator in other index. So this always reflected in all global indices. I worked in Jordan on evaluating the SDGs, the VNR for Jordan, and we faced a major problem in this regard. Number two, my question now. How would you domesticate or how would you consider the national specificities in these global indices? For example, if I speak about Palestinians, the mean is Palestinian, land confiscation is very important, and it's only maybe for Palestinians. So how you integrate this, for example, in Jordan, treated wastewater is very important index. Yes, it's none of the global included in any of the global indices. So that's why saying Jordan has a score of 50 and Brazil has a score of 45 or 44, as you mentioned. One should deal with these figures, I think, with cautious. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Any other question? Yes, here. So I think we'll open the room for two more questions and then have some responses from the panelists.
Okay, thank you. My name is Nail Abubakar, the head of a cartographic unit, Ministry of Territorial Planning in Comoros Island. My question goes to the presenter about soil index. I like the principle of assessing the completeness and openness. I feel like, have a feeling like the process should not just end there. Did you think about what is the next step now? Now that we know the situation, is there an alternative of maybe, because we normally say all the countries are not at the same level. So maybe you should think about how can we maybe counsel a certain country to reach a certain score, or how can you support those who do not have data at all, or the data are not open or not complete to fill the gap on such this thematic? Did you think about another alternative, the next step? Not just assessing, knowing, okay, this is the status, but what is the next step now? Thank you.
Thank you. We can have a question from down on the right.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. خليفة السويدي من دبي. أنا بس حبيت أشارك في تجربة.
I just want to share my experience on the Dubai experience. We call it the open data experience, and this institution has worked on the classification of all the data in relation to governmental and non-governmental institutions. And it is available on their website, and many private companies and firms has the right to access these informations and make use of it and integrate it with different institutions. We have worked with institutions on data classification. For example, what are the informations that should be registered in the public sector, and what are the information that should be registered in the private sector, and what are the land practices that are the best for each sector. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, maybe in line with the colleague from Jordan is that producing maps is very nice, but it's very dangerous. Because you know that, particularly in our region, I can declare, if I understood well the methodology, because the people, they can declare the ownership of any land, but you know that in some cases it's very dangerous because it can it may cause conflicts. Because in some disputed, and then we know that in all our country, most of the land, particularly the communal land, is still, the ownership is very difficult, to assess. And then also my question, how you can verify this information issued by the how do you call it, people-based, people-based indicators? Yeah. I'm with some, the local communities, whatever you want. But I think also it may cause also some interference with the government. And then we see that, for example, Morocco, they have a high program in the cadastre, and then it's a very precise work. And then the other question is about what is the resolution? Can you make with this index, can you make produce a similar as produced by the cadastre? I don't think so. This is maybe my comment about these indices. Sorry for being a little bit...
Thank you so much. I'll open the responses now from the plenary to make sure that we respond to everyone. And if there is more time, I give more time to the floor for extra questions. So starting from my side, I'm talking about the SOLI methodology. So you mentioned about the SOLI methodology, and I know that we didn't have time here to present a lot of it about the methodology, but it's available online on the portal, assessing the completeness and the openness of data on the government portals. So we are talking about the ministries and the production of data on the portal. So as I mentioned before, the data could be available and complete, but maybe on-prem, inside the office, either paper or digitized. It's not about digitization. It's about openness and accessibility of this data, and in the form of the openness in the different formats to use it. So it's not available in PDF. It's available in other formats that are readable, like Excel sheets, like shape files for the GIS, and so on. So in our methodology, we use more than one tool, but maybe the last improved tool was a sheet, or maybe it's the scoring tool, which is called the survey solution. And this is why in this regard, I announced for a call for volunteers if they want to learn about that. We can train them about how to assess governments, how to assess the performance of the governments on the completeness and openness of data in this regard. And thank you so much, Dubai representative, for letting us know about your initiative of open data. When I was presenting Tunisia and Morocco, they already have an open data policy, and it's also interrelated with the legal framework because there is a law for the access to information. But I need to learn more about that. If you followed my presentation, in the dashboard for the scoring for the indices of the SOLI index, we just have now 4 countries in the Arab region. So it's a good example if we have a best practice from Dubai to just present to the region. We have a gap in that, and maybe we can learn from one of the sister countries in the region. So, yeah, this is I hope you can, we can appreciate this invitation if we can learn more about that. Thank you so much. I'll pass to Shaht.
Thanks, Dina. I will just reply to the question of maps and the conflicts that might be arise. This is very well known for us, especially in a region where you have the tribes fighting sometimes for 1 centimeter of land. And this is the reason where you look at the legends, there is a layer that it says, is it documented, is it recognized by the government, or is it what the community is saying about their territory? So the idea is that we are not putting this map to draft borders to decline ownership. It's to show the biodiversity, the type of land use, the practices in there, and the resources on the land, and also the carbon print in that area. And I think my colleague Dina commented well on Dubai, but just adding to that, I think Dubai is the pioneer when it comes to having a systemized open data sources that are accessible by everyone. And I would like to know if there is any ideas from experience how this would applicate to open sources data that tackles people produced data and the innovative ways that could be integrated to use these data in a meaningful way, especially for advocacy and for knowledge and for research. Thank you.
Thanks. Maybe to add a bit to what Shad said, and then the questions about scoring and indices and the value these bring versus the risk. I agree, and I think we're pointing at something really important, which is that these numbers and these monitoring initiatives, they can be sensitive, they can be provocative, they can be uncomfortable. They can also obscure a lot of important details, right? So when we look at, I mean, we know the limitations of indices and the way that they work, right? A global poverty index, that number doesn't tell you much unless you unpack it. A global land governance index score at the national level doesn't tell you much until you unpack it. Sure, there have been moments when we got back a global number from Guatemala that was 40-38, and that caught our attention. You know, wow, Guatemala is meeting about a third of the parameters on all of the indicators we put in Landex for good land governance. So it's not to say the numbers are meaningless. They're not, right? We built them against methodologies that are sound, right? These are things we would like to be happening. But of course, they're global, and in that sense, they're covering a vast amount of territory and obscuring often what the strengths might be, what the gains might be, and what the weaknesses are. So we, as I said in my presentation, the national Landex score, the global Landex index, we use it very seldomly because it's very limited in what it can tell us about a national context. And because they're global indicators, it's impossible that they're capturing the nuances of land governance in a specific country, right? We could have added indicators about religious land or land restitution in the conflict in Colombia. We could add indicators that are specific to Jordan, right? But what we were doing here was trying to build global indicators that would give a sense of the global situation. So when you build a global index, the sacrifice is that nuance. And you build that in later, right? But there are reasons why we have global indicators. There are reasons that we monitor these global standards of good governance. And I think there are reasons why we should engage critically with that data when a score does raise eyebrows or doesn't seem right, right? If that score seems low, we go in and understand what was being asked and where did the country not meet those parameters. Maybe we disagree with the questions that were asked, or maybe we disagree with the measurements that are there. So you have to engage with the data. And what we do now, we come up with these indicator scores, then we go directly back to the members, and we validate them. Do these make sense? We put them all out on the table. Do we agree with what this is saying and how it's depicting land governance? Do you feel seen? Does your experience feel reflected? And then the members use those data. Not all of them. 33 indicators is way too much for anyone to digest, but maybe 2 of these are really useful in the data work that they're doing, and they would elaborate these.
Excuse me, we have 5 minutes.
Okay,
the lunch has been served. Please.
If I can say that, so landmark, the maps, of course, are also extremely political and sensitive, and putting yourself on a map can bring threats in the way that it can also bring protection and visibility, right? So
Eva?
Landmark is working with data that has been uploaded. It's an aggregate platform, and this data is being collected and volunteered, often by governments, onto the platform in order to show a situation. But there too, no data is untouchable, right? And it usually needs to lead to a discussion. Thanks.
Yeah.
Just small thing. I have.
Please in Arabic.
بالعربي. Okay. Je vais trouver les mots. نستدعاكم للغد.
We are calling you for tomorrow. We are holding a session by Nelga, North Africa. And I forgot to present myself. I'm a university professor in the University of Manar, Tunisia. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Information is important for the academia in order to verify on the ground. Students could make the verification, and they could also use, with the supervisors could select which is the most important indicators in order to be applicable in the country. So we cannot, or the students could use the developmental information which come from a global index for doing their individual or for their micro level information and approaches. So thanks.
Thank you. Another very last information for you. Who's reporting, which countries from the Arab region are reporting on the SDGs this year? So they are just Jordan, Iraq, Palestine, and Qatar. Do you see now the benefit of collaboration for data, to have more data to report for the SDGs. This is the goal of the session. So I would also repeat and enforce you to maybe be open to reach us out for collaboration as researchers, as volunteers on all levels for assessing governments, for working with the people-centered data and with ILC members also, even if you're not a member country, but you can contribute as well. Thank you so much.
Dubai website is called Dubai Pulse, and Mr. Khalif has encouraged everyone to have this experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.